They don't make noise. They don't chase headlines. They sit in silence, hidden behind tabs, rows, and columns. But make no mistake, Excel sheets speak. And the leaders who know how to listen, they build empires. We're not talking about formulas or formatting. We're talking about insight, interpretation, intelligence. Because behind every just another spreadsheet lies a conversation about your business, its pain points, its pulse, and its path forward. Most entrepreneurs get excited about the next big idea, the pitch deck, the packaging, the Instagram-worthy branding. But they glaze over when it's time to review the cash flow statement. They avoid the income report like it's a tax audit. They treat spreadsheets like they're for numbers people. And that right there is where the downfall begins. Because you can't lead what you don't understand, and you can't grow what you don't measure. The future of your business is coded into your Excel sheets, line by line, number by number, story by story. The question is, are you listening? Real business literacy isn't about being an accountant. It's about being a translator, reading numbers, hearing trends, and responding with strategic action. If vision is the fire, literacy is the map. It doesn't just show you where you are. It shows you why you're there and what to do next. In this series, we're going to decode the silence. We'll unpack how spreadsheets speak. We'll reveal what leaders see that others miss. And we'll teach you how to become the kind of founder who doesn't just make noise, but makes moves. Because Excel sheets don't lie, but they sure do whisper to the wise. Let's be honest. Most entrepreneurs weren't drawn to business because of spreadsheets. You were drawn to the vision, the freedom, the chance to build something that matters. You didn't sign up to become a financial analyst. But here's the truth nobody tells you loud enough. The numbers are not just tools. They are your most honest advisors. Every number has a story. That dip in revenue? It might be tied to a missed launch window. That spike in refunds? It's telling you your product didn't meet the promise. The rising expenses? Maybe your loyalty is costing your margins. See, we often say, trust your gut. But what happens when your gut is emotional, tired, or biased? That's when the numbers step in to tell the truth you might be afraid to face. I once knew a founder who swore their business was doing okay until we opened the Excel file. 3 months of hidden losses, overspending on ads, and a customer retention rate lower than expected. They didn't even know they were bleeding because they weren't listening. You don't have to be a math genius, but you do need to ask better questions. What is my cost per lead? What's my actual profit margin? Not just revenue. Where's my money quietly disappearing? Business literacy is not about loving spreadsheets. It's about respecting what they reveal. The most powerful CEOs, they don't just look at sheets. They study them. They don't ask, what's this number? They ask, what does this mean? They see numbers as patterns, feedback, red flags, and green lights. Because when you finally start listening, truly listening, your business starts talking back. If you're brave enough to look, your Excel sheet will show you everything. Your patterns, your habits, your blind spots. It's a mirror, unfiltered, unafraid, and brutally honest. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't exaggerate. It just reflects. Some leaders ignore this mirror. They rely on momentum, hype, busyness. But momentum without margin is a time bomb. And busyness without profitability is a death trap. The sheet doesn't care about how hard you work. It only cares whether your work is working. Tangible example. You might be hitting consistent 5-figure months. But are you profitable? Or are you just recycling your revenue into expenses you're too scared to cut? Because growth isn't always forward. Sometimes it's sideways. Sometimes it's a loop. And sometimes it's a warning disguised as a win. Key insight. You can't scale what you don't understand. If you don't know where the money's coming from, you'll never know where it's bleeding. If you don't know what's driving your top line, you'll never know how to protect your bottom line. I've seen entrepreneurs brag about hitting $100,000 months. But when we peeled back the sheet, their real take-home was less than minimum wage because no one taught them to calculate true profit. That's not just a financial issue. That's a literacy issue. This isn't about shame. It's about awareness. It's about stepping up as a leader who faces numbers like a strategist, not a dreamer hiding from the dark. Because the Excel sheet only whispers to those who lean in. And the ones who listen, they're not just growing brands. They're building empires with eyes wide open. Start with a leadership truth. Great leaders don't just look at numbers. They interpret them. Because numbers aren't just results. They're indicators. Think of your spreadsheet as a dashboard. But if you don't know what the dials mean, you'll either crash or coast blind. Let's simplify what to actually look for on your sheet. Forget the noise. Focus on these 3 power signals. 1. Profit margin. The truth about what you keep revenue is applause. Profit is impact. What's your net margin after every tool, every hire, every ad? If you don't know it, you're driving with no fuel gauge. 2. Customer acquisition cost, CAC. How much it costs to buy loyalty? How much do you spend to get one paying customer? Not leads, buyers. Because if your CAC keeps climbing but your offer isn't evolving, you're bleeding slowly. 3. Lifetime value, LTV. The hidden gold, what is one customer worth over time? If you're spending $150 to get a $100 sale, that's a loss. Unless your LTV is $600 in 6 months. That's the type of math high-level founders watch like hawks. Strategic story moment. A former client thought her business was slow because traffic was down. But when we dug into her Excel sheet, her CAC had tripled in Q2. The same at spend, worse targeting. She didn't need more hustle. She needed clearer eyes. And once we adjusted her offer, her CAC dropped by 40% in 1 month. That's the power of listening to your sheet. Close this section with an empowering challenge. So here's your leadership shift. Every time you look at your spreadsheet, ask, what is this trying to tell me? What patterns are forming here? Where do I need to act, not react? Because interpretation leads to intuition, and intuition backed by data, that's not just leadership, that's legacy-building clarity. Open with a hard truth. You can't blame what you never measured. You can't fix what you refuse to face. And yet, so many leaders are drowning in strategy while ignoring the simple metrics screaming for attention. It's not about complexity. It's about clarity. Expose the mistake. Data without direction. Most entrepreneurs track numbers, but they don't know what they're tracking for. They have sheets full of data, but no defined benchmarks. No insight into why something moved. Just a vague feeling of we're growing or we're stuck. Drop a quote-style wisdom line. Data without discipline is just noise. But data with purpose? That's power. Mini story example. One founder I worked with was overwhelmed by his weekly reports. 20 tabs, charts, graphs, heat maps. Looked impressive. Felt confusing. When we simplified it to 5 key numbers that mattered most to his business model, his clarity tripled. So did his confidence. And guess what? Within 90 days, he made 2 crucial pivots. That doubled his profit. Bring it home. Know what to listen for. Listening to your spreadsheet doesn't mean hearing everything. It means knowing which questions to ask. What's underperforming that we're tolerating? What's over-delivering that we're not doubling down on? Are we spending like amateurs or investing like leaders? Introduce a practical tool. Weekly listening ritual. Here's a simple weekly practice. Ask your sheet 3 things every Friday. 1. What improved? 2. What declined? 3. What surprised me? Then act, decide, adjust. Because the spreadsheet won't yell. It won't beg. It will just sit there, waiting for the one who's wise enough to listen. That can be you. You don't need to be a CFO. You just need to be curious, committed, clear. Leadership isn't loud. It's not in the shout. It's in the sight. The quiet decision to see what others scroll past. To pay attention when it's easier to pretend. Because real leadership, it's built in the back office. In the late nights of reviewing the data. Choosing strategy over ego, asking, what is my business trying to tell me? Remind them what they've learned. You've seen how. Excel sheets don't just report, they reveal. Numbers don't lie, but you have to listen. Interpretation leads to action, and action backed by clarity builds legacy. You've learned that business literacy isn't about spreadsheets. It's about sovereignty. It's not about mastering every metric. It's about knowing the ones that master your momentum. Create a movie scene moment, an internal visual. Picture yourself 1 year from now, opening your laptop, looking at your spreadsheet, and smiling. Not because the numbers are perfect, but because you understand what they mean. You're not guessing anymore. You're guiding. And the business? It feels different, smoother, sharper, stronger. Because now, every number speaks a language you've learned to lead in. Word of wisdom. The loudest growth isn't found in sales calls or social posts. It's found in the silent mastery of your back end, where no one's clapping, but everything's changing. So when you open that Excel sheet again, don't rush. Don't scroll. Lean in. Listen. Because your business has been speaking this whole time. And now, you're finally fluent. We don't just talk business. We move